Hello everyone, welcome to this channel. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the first language English IGCSE paper 1 format. The subject code is 0500, and I'll just go through the technicality of the paper and will explain to you what is expected from you for each question. Before we start, let's just look at what is paper 1. As you can see over here, it's a reading paper. And if you have looked at the syllabus, you would know that paper 1 is 80%. Sorry for the handwriting. Let me try to fix that. Okay. It's 80% reading and 20% writing. Okay. This paper is 2 hours long and it consists of 80 marks. Now, together with this question paper, you will also be given an insert. What is an insert? It's a separate set of paper. It contains the reading text. So for paper 1, you will have 3 texts. They will name it text A, text B, and text C. I have chosen the specimen paper for examinations from 2020 because this is the latest format, and as of today, 2023, this format is still the one that is being used by Cambridge for this specific subject. Okay. Now, let's have a look at question 1. What is expected from you in question 1? So, as you can see, you have to read the text, which is called Project Mammoth, and then you have to answer question 1A to E. Okay? So, this part I would call it, usually I would explain it as a reading comprehension. Because basically you just read the text and you find the answers and put them here. Okay, let's have a look at question 1A. Over here, as you can see, it's just a 1-mark question. That means it's a very direct answer, and you don't really have to think too much to find the answer. It's a very explicit idea. So you just have to read the text and find 2 examples of extinct species other than the mammoth that is mentioned in the text. So usually they would mention them very explicitly. What does a bullet point mean? Okay, when there is a bullet point, that means your answer should be brief and short answer. It doesn't have to be in a sentence form. It could be in a point form. Okay, so you don't have to, think too much to write a full length sentence. Now let's have a look at question B. Here you really have to use your own words since it's bolded, and the marks given really depend whether you use your own words or not. So let's have a look at what it says. It's saying, explain this in your own words. And as you can see, it's 2 marks. And what that means is they are expecting you to give 2 ideas or two words or two answers, if you want to take it that way. What I mean is, whenever they give you a phrase, there are 2 words inside this phrase that they expect you to give a synonym for. So, candidates for de-extinction. I would, even though it's three separate words, my guess would be that they want me to give a synonym for candidates and de-extinction. Now, you really have to be careful with this one. When you're giving a synonym, you have to make sure that whatever the synonym you give fits into the context properly. You do the same thing for for the next phrase. For question 1C, again, pay attention that it's a bullet point answer. So that means you only need to write in a point form. And here you will get 2 marks for 2 separate points. If you give you're only able to find 1 point, that means you will only get 1 mark for this question. Now let's have a look at question 1D. If you look at here, they're mentioning which paragraphs to look at. And for question D, there's always 2 paragraphs mentioned. And in 99% of the time, I can say, the answer for question D1 comes from the first paragraph mentioned, and for D2, it comes from the second paragraph mentioned. Regardless of whatever the paragraph mentioned here, it's always, this question is from this paragraph, this question is from this paragraph. Okay, now that that's clear, here you know what to do already. It's a bullet point, so you just write in a point form. But here we do not have bullet points. So what do we do? And it's 3 marks question. For this question, you are supposed to answer in a answer in a short paragraph. Ideally, with 3 points. Okay, so from the text, you have to find an answer for this. Let's say why Asian elephants were chosen for this project. So you have to give me 3 points why. There should be, let's say, 3 reasons. In this case, it could be 3 reasons why they were chosen. And you write it in a proper short paragraph form, not in bullet point form. And this is the last question for this text. Here, it's using your own words. So let me just go back to previous ones. Whenever they do not have that phrase, let's say over here, they're not saying use your own words, or over here, or over here. So for these questions, do not bother wasting your time looking for synonyms. Just take the point straight from the text and lift it into the answer, into the question paper. Only when they do mention using your own words, that is when you give a synonym. So question 1A as well, asking you to use your own words, and the format for this one is very similar to D just now over here. So you answer in the same format over here. So basically you just answer in a short paragraph as well, and with 3 points again, and that should give you 3 marks. Now this is still question 1. It's question 1F. However, previous one was about text A, but this one is about text B. So you need to read another text to be able to answer this question. This one is a separate, totally different text, which is called Walking the Baby Mammoth. What you need to do is read the text. It's a summary question over here. As you can see, it's a summary question. Summary question always has 2 parts. As you can see over here, there is an end over here. So what you need to do is first highlight what is the first part of the question is asking. What made Layuba such a remarkable and precious scientific specimen? So you find some points for this question. And then there's another second part of the question which is asking, what did scientists hope to discover by studying her? And then you find separate sets of points for this question. Usually, not all the time, but Usually the text will provide you 5 to 6 points for the first part of the question and another 5 to 6 points for the second part of the question. Then over here, you can see 10 marks are available for the content, 5 marks available for the quality of your writing. So what does content mean over here is points. How many points are you able to extract from the text and put it in your summary? The major thing that you need to keep in your mind is this one: use your own words. And you have to use continuous writing. So do not give the summary in point forms. Do not do that. You're supposed to write in a continuous writing, usually just one paragraph, because you don't want to write more than 120 words because your word limit is mentioned. And usually I would tell my students that this is the only question where you have to worry about the word count. So basically, if you have your 10 points and your writing is grammatically correct, you haven't done any punctuation or grammar mistakes, and you have been successfully given your own synonyms, or if you have rephrased the phrases, then you shall be able to score 5 marks. Now let's have a look at question 2. Now you have to read the last text given in the insert, which is text C. How I would refer to this question usually is, this is more of a vocabulary test. So I would tell my students that question 2, I would say, is all about vocabulary. It just tests your level of language. How sophisticated is your language? How well do you understand language, and so on. One thing that some people get wrong over here for question 2A is they read the underlined words or phrase and they give a totally different synonym for this over here. That is not what the question is asking. So keep that in mind. What the question is asking you is, identify a word or a phrase from the text. That means this text. You go to text C and you find a phrase or a word which has the same idea or same meaning as this. So that is what the text is about. So all this questions, the answers are from the text. It's not from your own. It's not like asking you to explain it in your own words. It's just telling you to find it from the text. Next, for this one, it's basically just a simple vocabulary test. Again, they want you to give a synonym. Again, you have to keep in mind whatever the synonym you're giving for this word, for example, over here, should be able to fit into context over there. Make sure the synonym you give fits into the context. Okay, moving on. Question 3C. This is where you analyze how a writer uses language. Basically, what you have to do is choose one example from the text below. They want you to choose something from here, and they also tell you what they want you to choose. It's a text which explains how the writer suggests Natalia's experience and feelings that night. So you're looking for a phrase or a word that is talking about her experience and feelings on that night. And you only have to choose one example. In this case, I believe Street light with a dime bulb could be one. You could choose from. I peered out into the street could be one you can choose. And an enormous shadow was moving. An enormous shadow is one. Moving along the street is another phrase you can choose. Then what do? Then you analyze that chosen phrase. Let's say this is an enormous shadow is the phrase that you have chosen. That's the example. That's the one example that you're going to explain. What I usually teach my students is first mention which example, or in this case phrase, you have chosen, and explain its direct meaning. Which means, let's say in this case, an enormous shadow. You could start your paragraph by saying, and remember it's a paragraph form because there is no bullet point over here, so you need to answer in a paragraph form. You could start by saying, the writer suggests Natalia's experience, or rather feelings that night with the phrase an enormous shadow, which suggests that she has she saw a huge or humongous body of mass, you could say, a huge and enormous or humongous mass. And then you give the indirect meaning, like what is he suggesting, what is the suggestion. Suggested meaning. Or sometimes it could be the writer is using a figurative language, so you could mention that the writer in this example, the writer used, let's say, a simile or a metaphor to kind of explain the shape of the animal or shape of the object, for example, and so on. And that should give you 3 marks as long as you explain it in your own words. Again, this is a question that wants to test your vocabulary and your language, so you need to be able to use your own words. Do not explain the phrase with the word that's in the phrase. Next is it's just an extension of that. Here, over here, you did only one example, but over here you need to do 3 examples from each paragraph that is mentioned over here. So you do the exact same technique that you did in question C. However, don't forget to take 3 points or 3 phrases from, in this case, paragraph 9, and 3 from paragraph 12. And then you do the exact same approach or the technique that you did over here. You could explain 3 phrases in one big paragraph for the first bullet point and write another paragraph for this 3 phrases. Or you could make 6 short paragraphs for each phrase. Both are acceptable, both are okay. It just depends on which approach is more easy for you to do, and you just have to keep practicing writer's effect until you find like which one you prefer to do. Okay, and here it says write about 200 to 300 words, which It's not really it's okay if you write a bit less or more than that, as long as your explanation is good enough and it's proper. And here we're going to look at the last question on paper 1. So question 3 is the last question on paper 1, which is from the same text. So question 2 and 3 is all about text C. And this one is a directed writing question. It's a directed writing question, which means they will direct you towards what to write. For this question, usually they will ask you to write either an article or a diary, or a speech, or a letter, or an interview. Yeah, those are the 5 formats that you need to know to answer this question. Now, looking into the technicality of this question, over here, you always should use the marking, how they give you the mark to look into how to approach the question. So as you can see, they're giving you 15 marks for the content. What does that mean? Again, you need to give 15. Content means points, right? And 15 marks. So you need to give them 15 points. And over here, as you can see, we have 3 bullet points, and you need to give 5 points for each question that they're asking. Okay. And then basically, once you have your 15 points from the text C, and you put it into the correct format of the question. Over here, they're asking you interview, and you just write your 15 points into in that interview format. And that's pretty much it. And again, they're giving you a word count over here, 250 to 350, which is okay if you exceed it or write less. And your writing over here is maximum 10 marks, which means you will be graded based on the vocabulary, your sentence structures, how sophisticated your vocabulary is, your punctuations, and especially the format. Like, are you following the format of an interview or not in your writing? And that's all for paper 1. Yeah, like we saw earlier, there are only 3 questions in paper 1, and you will have to read 3 texts, and you just have to answer a lot of reading comprehension. And basically this paper is all about understanding, testing your reading ability in first language English. Over here, as you can see, it's mainly about reading. So you read and understand, and you answer the questions. Yeah, that is all for this video. And if you do have any questions, do let me know in the comments section below. And in the next video, I will be going through paper 2 for this 0500 First Language English Cambridge IGCSE. Until then, see you. Bye-bye.